I did the thing, and now I'm gonna show you the thing. Whee! Quick question, what do scientific lab reports and digital animation have in common? This video, and only this video. Now I know, try to contain your excitement, just grab your lab coat and watch this sweet transition as I slip into something a little more official. The way I animate my videos is using a frame rate of 24 frames per second. That means if I wanted an animation that was 1 second long, I need 24 drawings to complete that 1 second. So this means that the nature of animation is very controlled. The artist has their hand in every single step of the process along the way. Now that can be really helpful because you can really take your time and work on an animation so that it comes out exactly the way you picture it in your head. But something the animation process often lacks is spontaneity. This got me thinking, what if I just took the control out of my own hands? What if I left the finished product of what I'm animating up to chance? I think that sometimes I just really need to mess with my own creative process in hopes of opening new doors and ideas I probably would not have considered if I just stuck with doing what I've been doing in my comfort zone. Above all, I think it's pretty important to allow yourself to potentially make some shitty art. You can't make great art without making the bad art first, you know? Here's my super science-y hypothesis.
If a digital animation is transferred onto instant film, then the final work of art will be altered in a visually interesting manner because uncertainty and chance will distort the finished product in ways the artist could not otherwise achieve.
Woo! Alright, sounds good. Here's the complete list of materials I used to conduct this little experiment. Let's go!
Step 1. Decide on what to animate.
I was in the market for something short and simple, so I chose to animate myself jumping up and down in a 2-second loop.
Wow!
Step 2. Open up Adobe Animate to begin the frame-by-frame animation process.
It took maybe a day or so to animate this 2-second loop, and I created the background using 3D elements from Adobe Dimension, and I just played around with the background colors in Adobe After Effects. Woo! The goal was to create a more realistic background so it would contrast better against the cartoony style of the animation.
Step 3. Export the final animation from After Effects as a PNG sequence.
With a little bit of file export action, we're gonna pop this bad boy into the render queue. Make sure we hit output module, and under the section that says format, we want that to say PNG sequence. Now I'm gonna click render, and at the same time, you're gonna click a like and do a subscribe because I want you to. Please.
Nope.
Step 4. Send all 48 PNG files to a smartphone.
I personally use Google Drive to get files from my computer onto my phone. So what I did was I grabbed that folder that I just created with that PNG sequence inside of it, and I dragged that folder into the Google Drive.
Nice.
And then I navigated to that folder on my phone.
Step 5. Transfer the PNGs onto Instant Film using Keepix portable photo printer.
Now we're on to the meat and potatoes of this experiment. So what exactly is this thing? It's basically a cheap camera that captures whatever is being displayed on your phone screen and develops that image onto instant film. I'd have to say that the best part of the Keepix is actually how bad it is at doing its job. You never really know what the photo's gonna look like until it's already printed and it's too late to go back and make any adjustments. I had enough extra film to do 2 test prints, so I'll give you a sneak peek of what we're looking at here. If you ask me, I prefer the look of test 2, but I forgot to write down the brightness and color settings of my phone display for each test, so I just went ahead and blindly printed all 48 photos without peeking.
Step 6. Use HP Photo Smart Scanner to transfer the photos back onto PC.
Making sure to maintain the correct order of the animation, I placed the photos onto the scanner's bed to be transferred back onto my PC. As you can see, the photos turned out more like test 1. So not the one I really wanted, but you know, that's fine. Sometimes it doesn't bother me at all. Not one bit.
Step 7. Use Adobe Photoshop to isolate and align each scanned photo.
Once the white background of the scanner bed is removed and all 48 photos are stacked on top of each other within Photoshop, it's time to export each photo as a PNG with Alpha.
Step 8. Import the isolated photos as a PNG sequence into After Effects.
Yay! We're on to the last step. To finish up, just right-click the uploaded sequence, interpret footage, click that main button, and then loop it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please keep your hands and feet inside the ride at all times because now we start to observe.
Right off the bat, the first thing to notice between the digital version and the instant film version is the color disparity. The colors in the film version appear cooler and bluer and are generally more subdued. Much of the contrast and saturation of the digital version is now lost, and the line work appears to have a softer appearance, as if a slight blur was added to each frame of the animation. You will also notice that there's a black border along the left side and the top side of the film version. Its thickness and orientation are inconsistent across all 48 of the photos, which leads me to believe it was just caused by the repeated process of placing the phone on top of the key picks to take the picture and then removing the phone again to load the next frame of the animation to be photographed. Outside of color differences, it's impossible not to notice the amount of jitter present in the film version. The shaky effect is due to how the photos were aligned within the PNG sequence during the Photoshop stage of the experiment. I noticed something else that isn't exactly a characteristic of the animation's altered appearance, but it's an interesting thing to note nonetheless. The white border of the Instax mini instant film also exhibits some inconsistencies. If you look carefully, you'll see that there's evidence of black specks and smears on some of the photos. It initially looked like ink to me, but after a quick Google search, I found out that the chemicals stored within the white border of the film can sometimes leak out onto the camera's rollers. And you could also see dust particles on some of the photos, which could have either been stuck on the actual photo, or just resting on the bed of the scanner. Alrighty, observations made. Now let's talk about it. Although my own human error played a role in the instant film version's colors not resembling the colors from my preferred test print, I'm still happy with the overall results. I wanted to take the finished product out of my own hands and leave it up to chance. This very relinquishment of control opened a whole new door. I got a glimpse at an adjacent visual language that was free of my own inherent creative bias. I wanted human error and instrumental inconsistencies to wreak havoc, and they did, so I guess I win. Yeah, woohoo. When it comes down to it, I sometimes just get in my own way when I'm making art. I found this experiment to be a very interesting exercise to make something with the intention of being unsure how it would look. So, was my initial hypothesis supported or rejected by the results of this experiment? I would say for the most part, yes, it was supported, because I don't want to lose and I'm winning. I win this experiment. Basically, I'm certain that I'm uncertain that this very scientific hypothesis is supported by the very subjective results of this artistic experiment. Woo! Okay, I win. Wowee, this is the longest video I've ever made. So I appreciate you making it to the end. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. And if it's your first time here, do a subscribe. And also, I'm still trying to work out how I'm gonna format future YouTube videos. So this is all just an experiment, so I'm open for suggestions, so do that if you want.